Good evening and welcome to our Cheltenham special of Racing Clear. I'm delighted to be joined by Matty once more. Matty, you're hitting form at just the right time anyway. A strong word from you last week with Marauder, a 33-1 winner.
Yeah, just about just turning the corner now. I said the week before you want to get into it. You want to land a nice one, don't you? And so yeah, good to get that. Good to know that the eyes are working, and hopefully that long may that continue into next week.
Yeah, that's nice now. That's nice. And a little bit of a fund as well to go to war with during the week, which helps. On the other hand, I couldn't have had a worse weekend, I don't think. I tweeted on Saturday, in the space of about half an hour, I had a small few quid on Alnalam, who's a horse that kind of went into my tracker a few starts back. 18-1, traded a 2-1 on, beaten. Next bet was Sansegal, of course, our friend, 10-1, trades a 3-1 on, beaten. Now, I don't think he was a 3-1 odd shot, to be honest. I was surprised that he traded as low as that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, my nap from last weekend, El Fabiolo, backed off the board 6-5 into, I think, what, 4-11, maybe even shorter.
He was hammered, absolutely hammered in.
Hammered and beaten. So that was a very, very bad half an hour. I went for fresh air. And no excuses either. I think he's one now to just let go.
Yeah, CV turns up at Aintree, but I think he's just been to the well one too many times. Maybe just slightly starting to deteriorate right a bit, isn't he? Unfortunately.
Think so. The only positive in the week was I was at a preview in Listowel on Monday night for a local charity, Cheltenham preview, and the raffle came out, and I won twice in the raffle. So maybe my luck has changed.
What was the present?
I think I got an umbrella and I got a bottle of wine, but we'll take it. It was better than my weekend.
It's a shame. It's a shame there's no rain forecast for Cheltenham, isn't there?
Yeah, that's it. Hopefully the umbrella will be able to be left at home. Suppose we've got a lot to get through, so we're going to crack on. Now, regular listeners might know that, look, we like to do things just a little bit differently. So rather than focusing on the graded races, the aim of this preview is going to be to focus on the handicaps. Give them plenty of time. We feel like maybe the graded markets have already taken shape and any little bit of value has been exhausted in those contests. So we're going to have a really good look at the handicaps and then quickly touch on the graded races. So we're turning the traditional Cheltenham preview upside down a little bit here. Looking forward to getting stuck into the handicaps with Matty, who is going to find us another 33-1 winner, hopefully. And we'll start with the Ultima. And it's, of course, the first handicap on the opening day of the festival. Just looking at the market here, the Changing Man. I know we've touched on this race a couple of weeks ago on the pod. The Changing Man leads the market now at 6-1 generally. Broadway Boy 7-1. Catate Dory 8-1. Crebly Masaccio at 9s, and then it's 10-1 bar those. Have you got an angle on this, Matty?
Yeah, I will just start by saying I cannot believe the Changing Man is into 6-1 now. I mean, we touched on it this last week, didn't we? Beating leave of absence for the lengths, and the race fell apart. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. And I saw someone put up on the previous. He's only got up £2 for that win. I was like, well, because it was. I'm surprised they even put him up £2. You know, it's very generous indeed. I just don't think he's got absolutely any chance whatsoever. This horse. Anyways, yeah, it's one of them. It's one of those races I absolutely love. It's a big trends race. Obviously, 10 out of the last 10 trained in Britain. There's not been an Irish winner since 2006. 8 out of the last 10 wins are beaten on the last start. I think it was Q-Star, Civilet, and I can't remember the one before. Beware the Bear, maybe the only ones in the last 10 years to have won the race last time out. 9 of the last 10 as well. No worse than 6 last time out either. And course form generally. 5 of the 10 winners had previously won here, so course form can be quite crucial for all Chianti Class. It did pull up on his sole start at the course last time. Headgear as well, the last 3 had won tongue ties. The winners in 21 and 20 wore cheek pieces. The winners in 2019 and 17 and 18 wore blinkers. So 4 have worn tongue ties, 3 have worn cheek pieces, and the last 3 have worn blinkers. It's just the 1 from 10 that has not won any form of headgear at all. Yeah, the market. So obviously we touched on the Change Man. I couldn't really fancy that. Broadway Boy would be interesting now. I think he was going. I think he was coming off as a second to the Can Do Kid in the old Hennessy. I think he'd probably clear favourite if he was coming off the back of that race. But just blurred his copybook slightly, didn't he, against Chantry House at Cheltenham. I think there was an issue with his knees. I think he's had some injections since to help him out. Obviously below par that day, but he's been kept fresh since. His course form is 3 wins, a second, a third, and a fourth. He's 2 from 2 in his fourth start of the season as well, which bodes well for next time out. So I think Broadway Boy is probably quite a good each way bet. He takes most of the angles, to be fair. The one I didn't quite like, and this is not out of spite for regular listeners, is Katate Dori, who of course won the race in the Ladbrokes Trophy last time out. I'm not a massive fan of that race as a prep for Cheltenham. I think Kempton's a specialist course. I don't think. I think it's one of those courses where you just take to. I'm not hugely enthusiastic about the chances back at Cheltenham. Whistle Stop Tour's interesting. He's 2 from 2 over 3 miles this season. I think he might be one that you quite like, James. I was one of the Lucinda ones. He's quite interesting. 2 from 2 over the 3 miles this season. Sandwiched by 2 lesser efforts over 2 mile 4. Quite eye catching, staying on behind Jaguar last time out. Although I've kind of touched on that form in recent weeks, I don't think it is that strong. The one that I just keep going back to time and time again is Happy Go Lucky. He just ticks all the boxes for me. Like his course form, third or fourth, a win, a second, a ninth in the Ultima 2 seasons ago, and a fifth last time out. He's hit the frame in 2 festivals, including second to Vintage Clouds in this race in 2021. That came off a £7 lower mark, £7 high mark, sorry. And his record at 3 miles as well: 2 wins, a second, a third, and a ninth. Again in that infamous Ultima with a Corach Ramble and Fast or Slow. He's £12 lower now than that last Ultima. He's £11 lower than he was when he was third to Home Press in the rehearsal chase. And I just thought that run last time out smacked of needing further again. Love a little flyer of a handy weight, a handy mark. I think at around 33 to 103. He has been clipped in to 20 to the lowest price now, I think it is. I think Happy Go has got an absolutely stellar chance in the opener.
Yeah, I concur with a lot of what you've said there, Matty. I did a stats piece for At the Races. Now, I tried to explain this stat. We did handicaps at the end of the preview on Monday night, and it was on in a bar in the stall, and you can imagine guys are a few points deep. But I could just see the eyes staring up at me wide-eyed. They didn't have a clue what I was saying, I'd say the majority of them. The angle is, and it's something I like in all the handicap chases, it's British trained horses aged 9 or older that have won or placed in the same festival handicap chase before. They have an unbelievable record. I've been kind of following this stat without really digging into it prior to last year. And I did it prior to last year's festival, and there was only 2 qualifiers, one of which was Shake 'em Up Harry, who won the plate. And basically, he wasn't really on my radar, but this stat kind of drew me to him. They have an unbelievable record, particularly since 2022 with the British Handicapping Review, where I suppose the handicapper is quite generous, I think, with older horses. He doesn't rise them as much. He drops them quite quickly. And since 2022, there have been 11 such qualifiers for this stat. Of those, 3 have won and 2 have placed. The profit is £43.50 to level stakes at BSP. And going back even further then, Vintage Clouds, you mentioned there, who won this very race in 2021, hit that stat. He was a 28 to 1 winner, I think, of this race in 2021.
Yeah.
They did draw a blank in 2020, but there was 2 big prize winners that met the stat in 2019. So it's a stat that has real depth to it. Excellent strike rate when you consider handicaps, and that these horses tend to be overlooked. And of course, the horse that meets the stat in the Ultima is Happy Go Lucky, who was second in this race in 2021.
Yep, behind No Boy.
That's it. So I really like that angle. I think it's one worth following through the week. There are a number of qualifiers, and I'll probably touch on them as we go through the handicaps through the week. But it has kind of led me back to Happy Go Lucky again this year. As you've mentioned, he's £7 lower than when second in this race, and £9 lower than his Aintree success when he was an authoritative winner of that Aintree handicap on Grand National Day. he he really travelled well through the race a few years ago when he was second in it. And I think just going back up to 3 miles, he'll be in his comfort zone. I'd love to see some headgear on him because that's, as you mentioned, that's a massive angle into this
Yeah,
race as well.
with that, he wore cheek pieces, didn't he, on the last ultimate he contended, and
He
it
did.
was I know he was ninth, beating a fair way, but he was a strong ultimate, wasn't it? And that was the kind of the angle I'm kind of slightly worried about. He seems to hate the cheek pieces, but whether that was just a very hot ultimate and he might come back on from maybe now at his age, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I wonder what they'll do. I thought that run in that ultimate, that was 2 years ago, wasn't it? 2023.
I think so.
That
Yeah,
was that was the really really hot ultimate. Like it
yeah,
was ridiculous, and first three pulled a nice way clear as
mm,
well. Like he's 12 pounds lower than that. So if you took 12 pounds off his back that day, he certainly wouldn't have been
yeah,
disgraced.
yeah.
So I like his Cheltenham form. I think that's a good plus. I also like that he's a prominent racer. I think that's a huge positive on the old course that
Massively.
that you can just travel like I know Carrick Rambler did it one day, but he was ridiculously well handicapped to come from the back. I certainly wouldn't like a hold up horse in this contest. Have we met agreement in the first?
I think we have. Yeah, just as I say, there's nothing else that I feel particularly very strong on. Don't think it's the deepest of ultimates. You naturally tend to look away from the Irish, anyways, don't you? I just think you're probably going to get 5 places. Some might play 6 on the day. And as you say, even if he does run to that ninth of the ultimate 2 years ago with £12 less on, I'd struggle to see him out of the top 5, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think he's one that, like, will he win? He probably has a 16, 18, 20 to 1 chance of winning, perhaps. But I think his chance of placing is better than 6, 7 to 1, 8 to 1. I think he's a really good chance of hitting the frame at a price. And I think that's what really makes him attractive. I suppose the one progressive horse that I was drawn to, but I don't think he's going to get in. He needs a miracle. Is Meyertown,
Oh, that was the one. Yeah, yeah.
Lucinda's, who I thought might sneak in off 10-2, 10-3, but it looks unlikely now.
I think you need 5. I think you'd only need 5 to come out now.
Needs 5. Is it 5 or 7? 5?
I think it's 5 now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Maybe
below
there's
him,
a chance.
possibly.
I
Yeah,
just saw he went out in price after the 5 day stage. So he was, yeah, he's 29. Yeah. So he needs 5 to come out. There's a possibility. But yeah, I think if he got in, I obviously look, he took a crash and fall at Windsor, but that like he was running well there. I think he would have won that day. That form is reasonable enough. And then I really like the way he bounced back from that at Kelso to win next time. Really powering through the line, impressive from the last home. Like a horse that had a lot in hand to me. He's going to get in off a very light weight. Obviously, Lucinda has won the race before and has a good record in it. I just thought he was one that I thought he'd go off shorter than 16 to 1. Now he's actually gone the other way in the market. I know that the money has come for Whistle Stop Tour, so there is a possibility that I've gone with the wrong one. But I think jockey bookings might be interesting. So that's our views on the ultimate. We're kind of both happy enough with Happy Go Lucky, I think, and at an each way price. Like you say, there's still a little bit of 33s available, generally 25s
yeah.
now, but
Just there's only one firm playing 33s now, so he's come in since the last couple of weeks. Um, I just, I just, it's rare that I feel this strongly about one on an open day festival handicap. Uh, probably since their vintage clouds last one. So hoping lightning can strike twice this time around. But Fred Wintertime, I think it is, or whatever they're calling it now. It's the what they're calling. They've changed it from the builders, haven't they? It's the Halgerton and Northern Wines Juvenile Handicap now.
yeah, I'm glad you introduced that, Matty, because it's a bit of a mouthful. Still registered as the Fred Winter, of course. So I think it'll be the Fred Winter to a lot of people. But I'll be honest now, this isn't a race I really looked at in depth. I know there was a few that I kind of made note of early in the season, so I kind of have my short list, but I haven't really dug deep into it. Have you had a good look?
Yeah, there's a couple in there that I do like. And I actually, so the first starting pair, I thought some of the Irish horses were quite harshly treated. The likes of Total Luck. I mean, Total Luck's got 132. Beyond Your Dreams, 2 starts back, was a half a length behind him, and one next time out, and can still carries £9 less. So I think Beyond Your Dreams has to be the one. Between that one and Put Your Hands Together, whichever Mark Walsh decides to get, and I think that'll be the one to be on there. I know he's won it with Aramax and Brazil in the last few seasons. From a stats point of view, unlike the Ultimate, the Brits have not won this since 2017. Generally, we tend to struggle in this race. Whether that's down to kind of the way that we source our juveniles, I'm not too sure. Like three of the last French winners were three of the last 7 winners were ex-French horses. 4 of the last 7 were former Irish flat horses. So whether there's something to be said there for the way the Brits source juveniles, I'm not too sure. Elsewhere as well, top weights generally not necessarily struggle, but 6 of the last 10 carried double figures in the cloth. I think Aramax might have the last one to win from quite a lofty weight. And as I say, yeah, just Stencil. I know Stencil's been tipped up by quite a few after that second to East India Dock, but to me, he just looks like a big chasing type for next season. Almost remember Milantino from last season, another one from those connections who was quite similar, well funded for the Boodles, and just didn't quite have it from France. James Reevely as well, only 2 from 32 at Cheltenham. I know that he's going to come over for the ride. The one, what do you think of Willie de Huel? Just before I carry on, what do you make of Willie de Huel?
Uh, it's hard to know what to make of him. Like the last day, it was certainly an improved effort.
Yeah,
Just 140. Like I actually touched on this last week. Like the juveniles from Ireland, a lot of them got in general they've got quite a high rise. Now he fared out a little bit better, but like 140, he's
he'd have
going
to
to
be
need to
impressive,
probably
wouldn't he?
be
Yeah,
borderline 150. Like
I
if
mean,
would
it
he not
came
be at the
into the
triumph?
booth. And just with Haley, you kind of go through his form. You think, well, okay, he's second to Nietzsche Has, who of course won that race, the Grade 2 at Chepstow, the Coral finale. Second to Natural Nimble. I know he's well beaten by Hello Neighbour. Then he's come back again and finished fourth to Hello Neighbour. 140 is massive, but there is reason to kind of believe that original hype, doesn't it? When you're thinking it was supposed to be the triumph horse for the season. But yeah, he'd have to be something for the next a very good horse to win off 140.
Now I do think the race will really suit him. Like he's
Well,
crying
yeah.
out for a mad gallop.
And it's one of them races where you just sit in your way in rear, and then you swing, come wide off the turn, and pick them off, don't you? So if
Yeah.
they could suit him down to the ground. The other, I'm going to go against a bit of the stats and go with Hot Fuss for Tom Dascombe. Now, this horse is actually, he had East India Dock off the bridle at Wincanton on both of the hurdles debut, the jump in the second and the last in tandem. And I thought it was a really, really promising effort. I know East India Dock powered away in the end, but when you think that one's probably going to go favourite for the Triumph and win quite well, he's bumped into something of an animal, an absolute freak. The third from that race was second to Gibbs Island, who was an eye catcher for the podcast a couple of weeks ago. That one's won Cosley quite well since, now rated 122. And then he made all to win a £16,000 race at Sandown, the same one that Goshen won on route to the Triumph. Remember that before heartbreak here. And then, as mentioned, there was no match for Nietzsche Has in that soft ground at Chepstow. But I just think like he's a very classy flat horse. He won a 13 grand pot, beating our old mate Marble Sands at Southwell last month. Bit of a pipe open to this, obviously. Marble Sands rated 112.3. I just think Hot Fuss, like off a mark of 122. Generally speaking, though, you are kind of had £40 onto a flat horse's rating over hurdles. I know it doesn't always quite translate, but off 122, he could still be £10 well in. Off the East India Dock form alone, like he's at least 15 well in. He's another that would be well suited to a strong test. Obviously, I think that last run over hurdles was just getting them qualified for this bit of a float. So I think at around 14-1, my most fancy one in this race will be Hot Fuss. The other that does tie in with him, and this is from an each way angle, is a Torrent, who I actually put off my column last week as the final anti-post play. Torrent was actually ahead of of Hot for Saturday, the last day. Now I know he needs 7 to come out, but if he gets in the run here, I think he's got quite a good chance. Maybe not for winning purposes, but he's your archetypal horse who will be suited to this race. Will probably come there, and get 5-6 place on the day, run his own race in rear, and then grab a place. Like his form over hurdles, he's not finished out the first 3 over hurdles, 3/3, 4/3 to 3 seconds and 2 wins. Ties in closer with Stencil on the East India Dock form, and I just think with the race run to suit, won't mind which way the ground turns up. I think he's got quite a strong chance to at least fill the frame. So my 2 would be Hot Fuzz at 14-1 for win purposes, and Torrent to run into a place at 40-1 as well.
Okay, interesting. Some interesting thoughts there. Like I say, I haven't really nailed my selection in this. A few in my short list. Beyond Your Dreams is probably at the top of that. Now, if she gets much shorter, she's probably going to be out of that short list just as she gets into it. But I just think she's been very, very cleverly campaigned. They've done very well to get her in here off a mark of 1, 2, 3.
I
Just
can't
needs
believe she off 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, she's a one that looks kind of obviously well treated. Now, look, the obvious ones don't generally tend to win this race. But after the trials day, I thought Stencil was kind of going to be high on my short list, but he's just very short. I love the way he hurdled, and I love the way he travelled. I do think this course will probably suit him better than the new course. And he was obviously part of that big performance from East India Dock on trials day. Wasn't beaten all that far and wasn't given a very hard time late on either. But he's very short now, at 5-1. If he drifted out to 8 or 9-1 on the day, that might tempt me. If the money came for some of the Irish horses and he drifted out. And the other one then that I was kind of watching her mark, but Mercia for Willie Mullins, she's after getting 136. If you factor in her fillies allowance that's supposed to be worked into her mark, you'd be saying 143. That's I think she's been very harshly treated now, and that's made me go a little bit cool on her. So like I say, I haven't really nailed my colours to the mast in this yet. Leaning very, very gently towards Beyond Your Dreams. I find it hard to keep her out of the frame, but I'll be still doing a little bit more digging before Tuesday afternoon.
I don't think Willie Mullins has won the Fred Winner, has he either?
He hasn't. No.
No, it's one of the very few races that
A
he's
number
not
of
won.
times, hasn't he? Gaelic Warrior, obviously the high profile one, the second half, 129.
Something daft like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, hard to believe now when you look back, but I suppose it was his first run for the yard as well. So he obviously improved a lot since then.
yeah. So that was a race at Brazil one, wasn't it? For Mark Walsh and JP.
It was. Now, of course, Gaelic Warrior on the day did try and go off the track, and a number of times he was remarkably right. But I think he finished up getting to a mark of 159, did he? The following season. So it just shows how much Willie can improve on. So we'll move on. We'll move on to the final handicap on day one, and then we'll touch on the graded races quickly. So then the Princess Royal National Hunt Challenge Cup Novices Handicap Chase, of course, what was the Grade 2 contest. It's now a handicap this year. Now as the hour heads the market at 7-2. It'll be difficult to get some stats on this one, Matty, unless we go back further.
Of course, yeah, it's gone back to a handicap now. Different look to how it has been of late. It's not a race that I'm particularly massively keen on. Not massively getting involved in either. Obviously, Cromwell's is the obvious starting point. He had his first chase run quite early on. I think it was last season, last March maybe. I think he made his chase debut, and they managed to get 3 runs into him since. The first 2, obviously, nothing, really poor. Then the last one, he kind of just was he behind 3-card Bragg and Kinturk Calanese, I think it was. When you think how obviously well handicapped on the 3-card Bragg form, maybe, but it was only 3 lengths behind Kinturk Calanese. So whether it was rated 127. So I just thought maybe off 139, Cromwell's might not be obviously well treated. Although we could have said a term about that, about I know the way you're thinking they came earlier last season, and look what he went on to do. So I'd like to take Cromwell's on. I thought Quintana was possibly overpriced. He ran in that race that Mayatown ran in where he fell. He actually hampered Quintana. It caused him to lose about 5 or 6 lengths when he was coming down with quite a decent chance. Quintana's a horse that he has to be prominent. He has to lead the field, or at least be up there. He nearly made all in the pair attempts last season, of course, finishing second to Monmirel. He's another who had quite an early chase start in his career. He's got 2 or 3 more runs into him since. Um, I just thought that maybe if Quintana can get away from the field, he might have half a decent chance. But I thought the obvious one was Transmission. I know it's not; it's become quite a common shout by now, but around 6-7 to 1, I think he's got quite a decent chance. Obviously, raced exclusively at Cheltenham this season. It was 10 lengths down from Haiti and Colours in that last run as well. And then he stayed on very strong, just smacked of needing further. Um, he's beaten the Moonderon twice as well this season. Has obviously come out and won that good race at Cheltenham. And I think his mark's fine. I think off a mark of, 133, I think that's quite fine. I think Paddy Mullins will be taking the ride as well. So it's not a race I'm massively keen on playing, but the two against field would be Quintana and Transmission for me.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement in terms of Transmission. I had a good look through this race now last night, and he was the one of those at the head of the market that was clear for me, to be honest. I can see why he shortened. I think he's actually into 5 to 1 now, best price. That's probably about as narrow as I'd want to get him.
Mm.
I thought he was the really solid one now. Like you say, I thought now is the hour, has plenty of weight. 139 probably wants softer ground as well, was what I thought. Um, so of the three that are kind of short, now is the hour, Haiti Kalur, and Transmission. Transmission was my clear preference. You've touched on it, very eye catching behind Haiti Kalur. So he has excellent prospects. He's one that's going to be very hard to keep out of the frame.
Yeah.
Obviously, the each way price is probably gone, but you can see why people latched onto that. The two at prices that I was kind of drawn to. The first one is a familiar name to the podcast. Was he my nap or my next best a couple of weeks ago? Pick Rock for Pawnee.
Yeah.
Steps up in trip again. Now I thought he was crying out for 3 miles. I wouldn't say he didn't stay the last day. He just kind of gave away the race at the last. He's becoming a little bit of a cliff horse for me. Little bit, and he just seems to find a way to get beaten. I'm starting to have doubts about him, but he's one that at a double figure price, I think he's 14, 16 to 1. I think he'll run well. And the other one I'm probably slightly more keen on is Jericho Rock, that was second in the Ultima, of course, behind Corach Rambler. Now, Jericho Rock, he looks very well treated on that farm. I was keeping an eye on him for the Ultima when he ran at Windsor, I think, wasn't it, on his
Yeah, it was the same race
comeback
as
run?
Mayatown and Quintana. That race, I think it was.
That's right. No, he was okay. Like, he was coming off a long absence, so I wasn't expecting much. Thought there was plenty of promise in it. Obviously his back form is very, very strong. Um, he's now running off 131. He was second in the Ultima off 138, so he's 7 pounds lower. He has obviously has the course form. He was third in the Hennessy as well, or what was the Hennessy later that year. I suppose you are kind of looking at the potential for bouncing here because he did have a very long absence, but he wasn't given an overly hard time in that return. He's been dropped a further 2 pounds, which I thought was very, very generous. So he looks well treated. I was a big fan of this horse a few years ago before he had his setback. I think I backed him in that Ultima when he was second, and I may have even backed him in the Hennessy or the Newbury race as well that year. He's still a novice, but he's a string of very solid efforts to his name. Again, he's another one that at a double figure price, I just can see him running very well, assuming that he doesn't bounce. If everything's okay with him, I'd expect him to run a big race, and I think he'll definitely get the trip as well. I think all three of those will probably be staying when others may have cried enough.
Yeah, I like the Jericho Rock shout. Definitely, I think a good mate of mine. He quite fancies it too. You're literally just concerned about the bounce factor, aren't you? I think that's probably
Yeah,
factored into the price as well. Like if he had that run at Windsor after a long season, you'd be more than happy to take single figure odds about it, wouldn't you? But yeah, I think all three of those for the market have got a great chance.
yeah, I think so. I think so. Right, people, our listeners are probably familiar with our yay or nay. we're going to do it slightly differently for the graded races, and we're going to do player lay. There's four. It's looking like four sharp price favourites now on the opening day of the festival, with Lossimo. I think she's now into even money, or maybe even a touch of odds on in the exchange for the mare's hurdle. So we'll quickly run through the graded races and the shorties and our views on them. The opening race of the festival, Kopek the board. Matty, are you with or against?
On the bare talent, you have to be with him. Like we said before, what he did at the DRF was just freakishly good. Like ran away with Paul 3 or 4 times, gone again. It was so impressive. It was great. It was similar to Brighter Days Ahead, not in the way that she was keen, but in the way that she travelled so quickly. They ran at such a good speed, and you thought there's no chance that she'll be able to keep this up, and she just went again at the line. That's kind of what Corbett de Boer did. Like he pulled so hard, and you're just thinking he's gonna have to come back to him at some point, and he just went away again. The only thing a lot of people are saying that if he gets too buzzy again, will he handle the prelims at Cheltenham? I actually don't think that his keenness hindered him that day to a degree, similar to how Ballyburnham's keen last season didn't hinder him. So for me, Copac the board, I'll keep it short and simple. I think will have to be a play.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I was obviously very keen on this horse before the DRF, but I just got the wrong race, unfortunately. For me, and I think he was 16s, or was he 20s even for the Supreme before the DRF. So kind of kicking myself over that a little bit, but I thought what he did at Christmas was just remarkable. Like to do that much wrong and be that impressive, and the form, like, as well, with Kawabunga in behind him, like it looks rock solid form, and he kicked every hurdle, and he was mad keen for a lot of that race at Christmas as well. He actually threatened to kind of run away under Patrick at one point in that race, going down the back straight early on in it. Similar to last day under Paul, but he did jump better. So yeah, look, I think he's a clear standout, and for me as well, like I found it difficult to split rather the others. So it's hard to take him on then when you can't decide which one of the others. And I think that kind of suggests to me that they're around the same level, and he's a level above.
Yeah, I
I
think the only way you could the only other way you could play the race, I think, would be work ahead, playing it each way, around 12-1. Obviously, he had won the race last season with Slade Steele, and came on for his debut and was third. Beat William Money 9 lengths, I think it was. He's obviously come out and boosted form since. So I think if Corporate does set a good enough clip and kind of comes back to the field, I think the one that might be staying on will be a work ahead for me. But I wouldn't be laying Corbett the board at all.
No, no, and I think there's going to be even money odds against available. Like, it's the opening race. He's not bulletproof with his temperament, I suppose. So bookies might look to take him on. I think at odds against, he'd be a bet for me. Very good. So we'll move on. Majborough in the Arkle. This is very, very short and sweet from me now. I think I only put one line into this at the preview the other night. I think this horse just wins.
Do you know what I did a while ago, and then I have played Loda Sud. The reason being, I just don't think we've seen the best of him. I really don't. Like, his best effort came at Cheltenham over course and distance on good ground. Since then, he's not really had good ground. I think he had it on his chase debut at Stratford. I just think he's a complete different animal on good ground. I know he was second in the county on heavy ground. I think even Dan Skelton said, "Look, this I didn't realise how good he was on a better surface." I think for me, Manchester, I think this horse will be 165 in time without a doubt. I just worry about him making a mistake early on and losing that rhythm. I think you can't do it around Cheltenham. I just think like a strong pace. For me, Manchester, he'd had things his own way, and whereas Loda Suds, he's had to battle a little bit. I loved it when he battled against Touch Me Not. Obviously, I know that Manchester has put Touch Me Not in his place, but look, Mullins, Manchester he's not been in a battle yet for me. Loda Sud, he's hardened. He's done it from the front. He's done it from rear. Done it on different ground, and I think just at the prices, I think Loda Sud, I've just got to play him at the prices. For all I do think Manchester will turn out to be a 10 times better horse in time.
Yeah, I think Majborough actually jumps fine. There was a gasp from the crowd at Leopardstown, but didn't lose any ground at his fences, which I think is the most important thing. the stats are actually very good in him.
Yeah, his jumping got a lot better as he went along.
Yeah, that jump at
Miles
the
best
third lap,
actually.
I thought I was like, because he was after kind of
Yeah.
getting in, he was low at the previous one, and confidence as well from the jockey. I think that this he's no
Mm,
doubts in the horse's ability to jump.
yeah.
To,
And
to
his engine
giddy up.
as well. He's second to none his engine.
Yeah, and I think he'll jump well. I think he'll improve again from that. I think novices, look, they can make a mistake. They're learning at the same time, and I expect him to jump well and win. Constitution Hill, Matty, where do you stand?
Yeah, no messing about with this one. I just think he wins, doesn't he? He has to win. I mean, I know the mare. I think it'll be one of his biggest tests yet. Like if the mare turns up in the same form she turned up at in Ireland, like in the last time out, I think he'll have a big task in his hands. But I also think that might even make him better. Like he's not raced against good horses yet, has he? To be seen to best effect this season. Like I know Lossiemouth was the closest thing to that caliber, but she just never fired. He's the type of horse who needs to be racing against other good horses to do himself justice. And I just think I think the only thing that's going to beat him is himself. Is put on one of those long leaps at the last again. I'm not sure if you saw the recent video of him schooling that the Racing Post put on, but he winged one of the schooling fences. Like from outside of the wings, I thought, what an absolute nutter to be doing that in schooling, and it just shows you how talented he is. Like it's a privilege to watch him. I really hope he does win for the benefit of the sport as well. Um, Simple for me. He should win.
Yeah, I got plenty of stick from Pat Healy the other night now over this. I was sitting on the fence this race. To me, it's just I'm not going to back against him because if he turns up the Constitution Hill that won a champion hurdle and won a supreme, he wins this he'll give the mare £7. But there's just too much. I haven't seen it this year. I haven't, and like I'm not saying that he isn't the same horse because I don't think we know that. That's my view on it anyway. Um, just when he came off the bridle at Kempton, I probably expected a little bit more. Now it was his first run after a long absence, so maybe I was expecting too much, but I just was a little bit underwhelmed. And at odds on, I'm not going to play. I'll be happy out to watch the race, and I think it's going to be a cracking contest. Tactics,
Yeah,
everything. It's a race that has everything.
it's one of them races. I mean, I wouldn't get stuck into the prize at all, but it's one of them races where you just want to see it unfold, don't you? It's
Yeah, really
yeah, for
looking forward to it.
the love of the sport, you just want to watch it, don't you?
100%, 100%. And finally, Lassie Moat. It looks like she's going to the Mares. Play or lay?
Do you know? I'm sitting on the fence of this one as well because I'd love to see her in the champion, and it's obviously been the 2 year plan, and obviously the fall last time out wasn't ideal, but I question whether had she not fallen last time out and say she finished second, would she still be going to the champion? And if so, is she going to go in here because she's fallen and perhaps I don't think she's right enough? I mean, if they're sending a mare 90% well enough to run in a grade one at the festival, I'd be half keen to take her on. I mean, I know she's levels above this lot. Like she's got £9 in hand over the field, but you just worry whether that falls take its toll. And that might be the reason why I sent it to the mares. Um, I actually, I'd take her on, and I'd actually have a flyer at Henry Daly's Why Not in this. She's around 66 to 1. She'd just been backed in from hundreds, but with three places, like the last, I think 7 of the last runners in this contest, the horses that led the race, they've all filled the frame. Love Envoy was second, she led. Stormy Island 2 starts back she was fourth. Elfie was third. Stormy Island again, she was second. Apple's Jade led for the most when she was third, and then the year before she won, of course. And a bit of a puzzle led her in 2014, and she was third as well. So prominent races don't the horses that lead don't tend to win, but they do have a good record of finishing in the frame. And look, she wasn't quite right last season. Why not? And she pulled up at Lingfield when they're quite well fancied. And but she was midfield when 10. She only raced in midfield when she beat 10 lengths behind Golden Ace in that Listen Mares contest here at Cheltenham. And look, she was put in a place that day, but she was only racing in midfield. I think just getting the confidence back up after winning a bit of an egg and spoon race the time before. She was only neck behind Betty there, who was only 2 lengths behind Cargizi, and they're taking no chances last time out. So I think that form kind of it does give her a bit of some entitlement to finish in the frame. You know, Carnegie's is 11-1 for this, taking on chances around 12s too. So look, I just think I know she can't. I don't think she particularly win the race, but she's been in good form this season. Like she was a comfortable winner at Doncaster in a listed company, beating the Irish mare Ottazina. She wasn't disgraced over the same course of distance against Chitara and Katira, just shaping like I think a drop back and triple to suit. Look, she's a course and distance winner already this season. She jumped so well from the front that day under Ali Stevens. And I just think that forcing style, with stamina to boot as well, she's shown she can stay, but she do need to around here. I know it's a sharper course, but you still do need to stay up the hill. Yeah, look, if the Lossy Mouth turns up, she'll be outclassed. If Jade DeGruy turns up, she'll be outclassed. I don't think she's got a million miles to find with Golden Ace. Maybe not even Joyous either. I do think Miss Why Not is quite a hardy mare. Done it in an open company. At 66-1, I think she'd be the bet for me if I'm going to have one each way.
Yeah, I don't really have a strong opinion on the race, to be honest, and I do kind of see the angle you're coming from. Like if Lassie Champion Hurdle was the plan, she's obviously not setting the world alight at home. There must be a bit of vulnerability. Now, I suppose is it shades of Tour a few years ago when it was the Gold Cup or nowhere, and then he absolutely slaughtered them in the Ryanair. But I don't think I'll be having a strong play in the race anyway. Either way, it's kind of similar to a lot of day one for me. Really, you know, I just think there's better bets later in the week, and
Yeah, for
I'll
sure.
be holding fire to some extent. Your best bet in day one, Matty?
My best bet on day one it will be Happy Go Lucky in the Ultima each way play.
Yeah, I think I'd probably concur with that. I put it up on at the races along with Town, who I don't think is going to get in. But yeah, I'd be happy enough to play Happy Go Lucky each way as well. And if there was 5-4, 11-8 against Copic the board, I think that's a good play too. We'll move on to day two, the first handicap, the devilishly difficult Carl Cup, where Be Aware heads the market, and I am absolutely kicking myself about missing the price on this fella because I flagged him up after the Greatwood all the way back in November, and I think he was actually 14-1 a couple of weeks ago for this race. And I've been looking here, there, and everywhere. It wasn't a race I was covering for at the races, and I just seen that like he's now 5-1, and his case is obvious. I don't think anyone would have missed it really. In truth, like it wasn't exactly groundbreaking when I said that this horse is crying out for a step up and trip after his Greatwood run. And a few weeks ago, I kind of had a feeling that I had a number of horses on my shortlist for this race, but one by one, they seem to have defected. Alto Belly is the latest of those. I don't think he's going to run now either. Now, he'd probably gone up a little bit too much anyway after a couple of wins, but I'm struggling to find one now. I had a look at this race last night and trying to go away from Be Aware, but I struggled a little bit. How do you look at the race, Matty? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think it's first we'll be aware. I think he got backed in on the back of that gallop they did at Warwick, didn't they, with a Grey Dawning? I think it was 10s, 11s to 1 for the Coral Cup. He done that gallop and pulled away. I think I would have steamed into him. But yeah, the case is clear as day. I
That's the
think
cause,
staying.
right?
Yeah,
Okay, I missed
yeah.
that.
I'm gonna say yeah. Don't worry too much. But yeah, just the shades of Langdon about this horse. Saved all season for the race. Would I be going at 6-1 when you've missed the fancy odds? I'm not entirely sure. I actually found it a bit of an underwhelming renewal of the Coral Cup. Going back through the stats, only two of the last 10 winners are rated below the 140s. That was Heaven Help Us, who was rated 139, 138, and Oh Petty Swan, the ex French horse for Nichols, was rated 138, 139. Sorry. So generally speaking, you kind of want to be above the 140 mark. Only two in the 150s, but there's only 18 of the 62 entered horses that are 140 plus in this contest. And I think that just tells you it's a bit of a weak one. Top weight Maxim. I mean, if Maxim can win a Coral Cup off top weight, when none of them were trying the Boyne Hurdle last time out, I think that'll be the one more nail in the coffin of the coffin of the festival. I think. But the one that did catch my eye behind Maxim was Found Glory. Now, I just smacked of not really trying there. Like three hurdles away of travelling so well. And then the JP horse on the outside came right by him with the chance. And Sam Ewing just sat there on Farron Glory, just letting him go by. Just smacked him just at the next time out target. And funnily enough, that was his first time, first attempt in open company over the hurdles. Obviously, he started, he went chasing this season. Um, wasn't entirely disgracing either as well. Like he was second to in the pocket, second at touch me not. Finished up close behind the likes of Dan Memory and Lecky Watson. Just not maybe looked a natural. But what I do like is horses that kind of have experience over fences and then come back and go hurdling again because they seem to be quite well handicapped. If you remember, he was quite promising novice was Foreign Glory. I think he was favourite for the Supreme at one point. And then he fell behind Django Bai in the form. He went, I think, going quite close to winning.
Yeah.
And then he bombed out at Aintree. I think I just presume that fall took its toll in that season. Probably why we've not seen him for best part of a year. And look, he won the Royal Bond this horse. Speaking of Kingsfield, it was a lovely young horse. Bally Adam also won the Royal Bond a few seasons ago, and he's come close in the last two Coral Cups. I backed him in the last one when I think it was a 25-1 and got backed in and chin battle in the dam. So I think off a mark of, I mean, he's 25-1. He's off a mark of 147, which I know is quite steep, but it's also around about the mark when you're wanting to win the race. It doesn't seem to be a particular amount of decent horses who look completely thrown off the mark. Jimmy Desai is another interesting one on seasonal debut, having finished to Ballyburn last time out. Wood, who's interesting if she goes in here. Impositoir is interesting too. There's nothing that really just stands out. And if Farron Glory can build on that effort last time out, perhaps maybe taking shapes on someone shaving £3 off maybe. I think at 25-1, he's got a fairly decent chance. You know, I think Elliot loves a point hurdle for the festival, for like a prep for the festival. I think Cider Burley's done it, obviously. Who else? Cider Burley, Maxim, of course, Galvin, Delta Work. You know, he loves this race, kind of getting perked up for the festival. And if you can just build that last effort, get back to his promising ways, I think at 25, he's quite a decent each way bet, is Farron Glory.
Okay, interesting. Um, yeah, it's actually another Garden Elliott horse that I was most drawn to probably. You mentioned Ballyadam there actually. I had a look at him because I think he's another that could run well in the race, probably without winning. Like he's off
Just
a
his
mark of
match,
one
wasn't
five one.
it?
Yeah,
1-1, yeah.
yeah. I was drawn to him, and then it's just his mark that's put me off. I think he'll probably still run well. Is he £4 higher than last year? But
Yeah, yeah, 147 was, I think, wasn't it?
yeah, so he's £4 higher now. I know there may not be a Langer Dan in this year, um, but I think he can probably hit the frame. But at a wild price, I think he's 33s. He might even be more. Beacon Edge, the 11-year-old, is a horse that I've quietly fancied for this race the last 2 years now, but it hasn't happened for him both times. He just never really got into it. But one could argue that he's been better than ever this year. I liked his run behind the wall park at Cheltenham in October when he just probably doesn't see out 3 miles well enough, certainly not at Cheltenham. He was right in there jumping the last and then just faded up the hill. He then won at Wetherby in a grade two, and then of course he was third behind Lossiemouth. Now, obviously Lossiemouth didn't come off the bridle that day, but he wasn't disgraced in that race. Like he was only 5.5 lengths behind Tihupu.
Yeah.
Again, Tihupu's form in that race has been decent. Now I know it was better ground this year, like it was yielding and good yielding even in places. But I think compared to the last two Coral Cups, the better ground will help Beacon Edge. Again, look, he's probably one that can I see him winning? It's a little bit difficult. You need a little bit of a creative imagination to see him winning. But I could see him running well at a big price off a mark of 145, I think.
143, I think it is. Or is it revised 145? Sorry,
145, I think, yeah.
145. £2 higher
Uh,
than Irish mark.
so he's a pound lower than when he ran at Cheltenham behind the wall park. Again, like I say, not getting home. I thought he was a little bit of an eye catcher that day with a view to this race. And Gordon has done something similar with Commander of Fleet. He was a 10-year-old, I think, that won the race at a
Yeah, he was a
did it one 2 years
yeah, he
ago.
was third in the Boyne Hurdle, the en route as well. That's another reason why I fancy the Farron Glory angle too.
Yeah, I didn't tweak the Farm Glory one. I know Gordon likes the Boyne, all right. I actually think with Beacon Edge, he specifically kept him away from 2.5 miles since the
Yeah.
one behind Lossiemouth. I think his best form has come at that trip.
He's not
So
been disgraced over 2 miles, has he? The last twice. Eagle Beacon Edge.
he hasn't. No, no. Like obviously, look, and he's been highly tried. Like behind that Kitzbühel, the last day at
Mm,
Gorn. Again, I just think he likes nicer ground these days. Like you go
yeah.
back to the last few years, all his wins have come on better ground, and it was proper soft ground last year. Like when he was finished ninth off 145, and the previous year it was a similar story again. Very very soft ground. He was 12th off 147. I'd love to see them claim off him to bring him down to maybe something like 140. But I think he could run well at a price.
Yeah. We'll battle it out for the best of the elite claimers.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. But I do think it's a fairly obvious one. But I think that the favourite does have solid claims, but he's just too short in this race.
Yeah,
Yeah. We'll move on and we'll get stuck into the cross country, isn't it? Next.
it is.
Uh,
Yeah,
sorry, I've lost my order now. Is it the cross country before the Grand Annual?
yeah, we're on the
Sorry, yeah,
cross
cross
country. Yeah.
country is yeah. Um, So Stumptown heads the market. He's general price 5-2, a little bit skinny, I think. Galvin is next in at 4-1. Then you've Mr. Coffee, Bustleton at sevens, and Vanillier at eights. You're probably too young to remember, Matty, but when this race was a handicap all those years ago, a good angle into it was horses that had previously run in the handicaps earlier in the season at Cheltenham. So I kind of went back through my history books, and that was what I kind of dug out. That I
Oh,
was young now that time as well, Matty. I know you might not remember, but I was young as well. Um, a few years ago now, I'd say that since when was this last race? When was this race last a handicap?
it wasn't 2015. It was
Yeah, Balthazar King, possibly the last winner, was he? When it was
Rivage. Oh, it was.
Rivage Door, good man, good man. That's a good shout. No, I wouldn't have got that one. Um, have you a view on this year's renewal?
Yeah, you know what? It's a race I've loved ever since Lieutenant Rocco finished fourth in it 3 years ago. I remember putting up on my Twitter before I worked for GG. I think around 150 to 1 it was. And it's a race I've loved ever since. Like I used to, the horse was flying out in front like that, completely outclassed. Was a joy to see. And there's a similar angle in England. Obviously now it's a cross country, and now it's a handicap. Sorry. I actually think Stumptown's quite poorly priced at 5-2. Off 157, I think the handicap has absolutely destroyed him. I mean, he's probably looked at Keith Donoghue and said, "Well, that's what you get for being that cheeky the last day." I think I just have 157. I'd have Galvin a lot closer at favourite, especially if the ground does dry out. I think Galvin does prefer this better ground, but I know the cross country is already heavy ground itself, isn't it? It takes a lot to dry out that course. Um, Galvin, he missed
It's
last.
top
He
heavy in
missed.
places, I think.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like I know they had a deluge of rain, haven't they? Early on in January, the start of February, but it's dried up all the time now. But yeah, it's still soft heavy in places. And I would prefer Stumptown over Galvin. Should it be should it be still be like that? But like he missed, like, I know he missed last year's with a preference for the national, but it was fourth in the Grand National,
Yeah,
like behind Iron Maximus. That form alone brings him in with a chance. He was second to Delta Work in this race when it wasn't a handicap, pulling 26 lengths clear of a third. Um, I'd have Galvin over Stumptown, but the one I would give a big chance to, in each way chance, is a Escaria 10. Now, as I said, Stumptown probably not well treated, and he's £9 better off Stumptown from last time out, where he gave an absolute exhibition jumping from the front, similar to how Lieutenant Rocco did a few years ago. Now, who also was return the profit. It was his first attempt in this discipline. We know that Martin Keefer's got back class with the likes of Back of the Lash winning a cross country race a few years ago at Cheltenham, so we can train him to go well around here. And as I say, like for a full length defeat, £9, it's a fairly big swing in the weights now. And he bounced back. He ran well next time out at Sandown. That Masters handicap behind O'Connell gave weight to the front three. I just think that at around 66-1, I think he's 50-1 now. So 50 to 1 best price. with most firms. Like he's got a great each way chance. £9 better off with a favourite who's 5-2 in a place. Jumping like that, if he gets a clear round, I think he's got a great chance of Martin Keithley. And if I was just playing small, I'd have Galvin over Stumptown too.
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of what you've said there. Certainly, if the ground dries out, I think Galvin has a big shout here. Like, I agree with your point on Stumptown. Now, I better be careful because he's owned by a few lads just in the road from me inside in Tralee Town, and look, it'd be great if he won for them. Especially I think come so close at the festival a few years ago when second to Angels Dawn. Um, but I just think like he's given £3 to Galvin, who, like you say, was fourth in the national, has real like proper grade one form in his in the book. Like, and I know he's 11-year-old, but like Stumptown, he's a handicapper, I suppose, at the end of the day. A very, very good one and a horse you'd love to own, but 157 it makes it difficult for him.
We'll let that one slide.
Yeah. I thought it was my phone. I thought it was the lads that own
No,
Stumptown ringing me.
it's a rookie mistake, isn't it? Rookie mistake.
But yeah, on good ground, I think Galvin like would be very interesting of 154. Um, on kind of softer ground, the one that I was drawn to was Vanillier, who I think it's kind of the angle as well with Stumptown that like how many of those were actually trying earlier in the season, like, and were really, really gunned for the day. I think a few of them just had a gallop around the course, just familiarised themselves with it, with a view to the March handicap. And I think Vanillier was one of those. I thought he got off very light now for his success at Punchestown the last day. He's in here off 147, so he'll be carrying 11 stone. Nice kind of racing weight. I know he's Cromwell's and he's not going to have Keith Donoghue. Well, I would imagine anyway. But I was like, it was first time blinkers the last day, and he just looked like a different animal. Now
Yeah,
you
this
kind of
complete smart smoke, didn't they? Like 18 lengths.
yeah, and when I looked at it first, I said first time blinkers. They've never tried blinkers on him before because I just assumed that he was a horse that kind of everything had been tried
Yeah, the
on it.
archetypal
But
horse that wants blinkers.
yeah, to me, I've tried him on him before now, but there's the potential as well that the cross country has just really freshened him up and rejuvenated him, and like he's going to be getting what's he getting £10, £12 off Stumptown, £10 off Stumptown.
Yeah.
Like aside from the cross country element of it, in his prime, his form was of a much higher level, and we're talking about Galvin in his
He's
finger
second in
for
the
it.
national himself, like so.
Exactly. Will definitely stay the trip as well, and the old rogue as well. Mr. Coffee was the one that I was kind of somewhat interested in. Now he's probably not going to win, but he was a big cliff horse of mine a few years ago. But I thought
Yeah.
he was a big eye catcher behind Stumptown as well the last day. So I think Stumptown is a little bit short. I think there's plenty there to take him on with, depending on what way the ground falls. Haven't really nailed my colours to the mast yet. Leaning towards Vanillier if there's a bit of soft in the ground, but if it did if good did start to appear in it, I think I can see the value in Galvin. I think he'd be a big sharpener as well if the ground dries out.
I think you probably got a favourite.
I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we'll move on. We'll the Grand Annual. Now I saw a tweet from you today, so I feel like we're on the one wavelength for this race. Probably one of my stronger handicap shouts of the week runs here. Now he has been supported in recent days. He's now into 7-1. I think he was 10-1 earlier in the week. At 10-1, I thought he was excellent each way value. It's last year's winner, Unexpected Party, who hits the stat that I mentioned earlier of uh, older British trained horses that have won or placed in the same festival handicap before. And I think off a £6 higher mark than last year, he is sure to run very, very well again.
Yeah, I'm surprised you can still get the general 7-1 about him. I've been so sweet on him for a while now. I think I put him up at I think it was 12 or 14-1 early on in the year, and I can't see a world in which he's not bang there at the last. Like I remember I saw an interview about how Dan Skelton first planned to win the race with him in 2023, He didn't sneak in the bottom of the weight, so he went to the Turner's Chase instead. He was only beaten 8 lengths behind Stage Star as well. And then, in his own words, he said he won a novice listed chase at Chepstow on seasonal debut out of pure frustration, um, just to get him up on the weight. So I thought it was hilarious. It just kind of shows you that how he says how he's in his own ways. He's stopped him all season. It's not worse. He's got miffed off, and he's gone one first time out next season. I thought it was genius. Oh, however, which way you want to dress it up. And but then that season, they campaigned him so well to get him back down £6 to win the Grand Annual. Um, they ran him in Grade Ones. They ran him over in inadequate trips. They've tried with him. They've tried with him, rather than stopping him to win, just in races that you physically can't win. And I just think plotting like that. So I think it's a genius bit of race planning. And they've tried the form as well. The form from that last year's Grand Annuals worked out tremendously well. Like the second Libet Hunters rated £12 higher, still got £6 to fine with unexpected parting. They're both the exact same price in the market. Path de Rouge £2 higher with a win since. Saffron in third, £6 higher. Gemiron's won twice since, of course. One of the Paddy Power chase at Cheltenham, he's £8 higher. San Roaz somehow £10 higher. I'm not sure how he's ended up going. He's ended up winning since. Solness, of course. I mean, I don't think that was the true Solness, but along with Brook, he's also won since too. I think only 3 of the 11 horses who actually finish a race in behind haven't won or don't have a higher mark, which is remarkable form. So I'm not too concerned about the £6 higher mark whatsoever. They've had a similar campaign this month. They tried to do something similar at least this season. Sorry, tried him in the Old Roan, and now we all know that he doesn't stay 2 miles 4. So they've tried him in the Old Roan, and he's actually ran quite well. I know he's finished last, but it was only I know he was only 6 lengths behind Stage Star. It was in 5th that day, and he was only beaten 3 1/4 lengths behind La Pressa 2 starts later. Then he went to Carlisle in that graduation chase, and I think they had to play the hand. Caliph de Bailey fell, and all of a sudden he was in with a chance. So he almost had no option other than to try, unfortunately. And he was beaten by Nell's son. But Nell's son, like he's gone up £10 for beating Matata next time out. We of course come out and bolted up at Windsor, now rated I think in the 160s. So again, like he got dropped £1 for that effort, but he's actually ran really well again. He went for a float in the Schlur against John Bon, Edward Stone, and I forget the other one now. And they've got dropped again for it, but he actually ran to an RPR £3 higher than his mark, despite being beaten 13 lengths. And like they've campaigned him so well without actually meaning to. Again, and they've picked up £32,000 for it. Obviously, he was the only one to come out of the pack against Matata at Windsor, and literally none of them would try at all. It's quite a funny old race to watch. And but again, dropped £1 for it. And so, like, I know he's a 10-year-old, but he's only ever really been tried with 3 times over fences. Like they stopped him in the first season. We go for the Grand Annual, the one at Chepstow, and the one the Grand Annual. So we've actually only seen the best of him in quotation marks 3 times really. And all the horses can win this race. I know he's 10 now, but all the horses do win the race. Sky Pirate and maybe Amarillo Sky, I think it might have been. Won it in recent years. I bummed around. I can't remember which one it was now, but I just think like I know he's £6. I know he's £6 higher, but for all the aforementioned reasons, of bits of form, I think he's still got a huge chance to win this, and I'd say quite closely too.
Yeah, I think so. And I think like if you fancy him, you kind of have to pick the little snippets of form. Like you say, fourth in the turn, or sorry, beating 8 lengths in the Turners. His run in this race last year, the run where with Nelson this year, those little snippets of form, like they all suggest that he's well treated. The Glaciers race has worked out remarkably well. It's very hard to see any of those that were in behind him last year reversing the form with him, like on the weights. And I watched back the race again during the week. Like he was authoritative. He looked like a winner from a long way out to my eyes. Anyway, I know it's easier to say that when you're looking back afterwards, but he was really, really impressive in the race last year. And only a £6 higher mark, like that is generous when you're talking about a festival handicap. He could be a lot higher coming back the following year. And it has been done as well at the festival. We saw Carrick Ramberg came back. I think he was £6 higher as well, was he, or thereabouts?
Yeah, near enough. Yeah,
won the following years. So that's very feasible, I think, when you're an impressive festival handicap winner, coming back off a £6 higher mark. It's going to be very, very hard. I just can't see him being out of the frame, like you say. I think he's nailed on, barring accident, to finish in the first four. And I still think there's a bit of value in the 7-1.
Yeah, completely agree. And also, there's nothing else that actually there's nothing else that can you look and think they've just insanely chucked in. Like the only other one that I thought about playing was JPR one off top weight, perhaps with something claiming. I know that it was a good win of the Howden Gold Cup, wasn't he, off top weight, and showed up well enough in Grade Company since. They have entered him in here and today, so maybe the only other one that I would consider if would be JPL1. But yeah, I think for the most part, unexpected parts, I'd struggle to see him beat.
Yeah, I think so. And like that now, like yourself, look, I went looking for the dangers and the unexposed ones, maybe, the younger horses, but probably because of the novice handicap and the fact that there's 4 runs now, I just didn't feel like there was anything really thrown in this race, an up and comer that could have maybe 7 or 8, £10 in hand. I think Unexpected Party still has a little bit of room to maneuver off a mark of 144. I think he has maybe £5 or £6 in hand, and I think that could be enough to win this year's Grand Annual. So we'll quickly run through our, having met agreement in the Grand Annual with Unexpected Party, we'll quickly run through the graded races and get, I notice Turner's Novices Hurdle has kind of turned on its head a little bit. You'll be very, very happy. The new line has usurped Final Demand as favourite now for the race. I presume you're sticking with him, Matty?
Yeah, look, people are only starting. I mean, I am incredibly biased. Like I put him up at 25-1 as the first anti-post selection of the series.
That's
So
a great shout. Brilliant shout.
There is a complete. I'm entirely biased, and all of my views are completely through an entirely biased lens. But if it wasn't like I know people crab the Cello form in recent seasons, but like it's always on desperate ground, and it always ends up kind of ruining novices for the season. This Cello was on a good ground. Like it was a lovely race to watch, and the form was actually. I know people crab the form, but like it's working out. Like of all the horses who was raced since, there's been 4 winners and a third. Bill Joyce was a third behind 6 Mile Bridge and Potter's Charm. So, albeit in lesser company, the form is at least somewhat working out. And I just think, yeah, just it's going to be the race, the type of race where you need to turn a foot to win it. The better ground of it is better ground to suit more than Final Demand. That's not to say that Final Demand doesn't have a turn of foot. I just don't think it's anywhere near the like of a New Lion. I think he's a battle horse all over. I'd actually be more worried about the Yellow Clay in here than Final Demand, who I do think does have a turn of foot. And then yeah, the rest just won't get near him. I don't think. I mean, he's beat Wendigo on the bridle. I think Wendigo's 137 now, maybe, and he's beaten firmly on the bridle. Like, I'd be amazed if the new line isn't 155 by the end of the season. And if there's anyone out there offering the Turners and the Champion Hurdle double, then I'll have a little bit of that as well.
That's big talk. Big talk.
Next
Yeah.
season, of course, not this one.
Look, as you know, I've been kind of against the new line. I was against him on price early on the season. I thought he was too short, too early, and we hadn't really seen the best of the Irish novices. But this race looks like it's really falling apart now. Like, and there is still the potential. It looks like the Yellow Clay is going to go to the Bartlett now.
Is that right?
There's the exchanges are kind of leaning that way now. I think he's very weak in the exchange for this race. There's a possibility that Final Demand goes to the Bartlett, and then this race would look the new lines for the taking. Like it looks a penalty kick almost. I'm still not sold on him. I'm still not sold on the farm, but will I be laying him? You're looking for horses to take him on with, and I'm not sure I will. I don't think I'll be having a play in the race if both Final Demand and the Yellow Clay go to the Bartlett. But your 21 or 25-1 will look very, very strong then. So I'll be cheering him home for you, Matty. But yeah, if Final Demand runs here and there's a little bit of soft in it, I would be just siding with him. But it'll take a real Paul Townend special. He'll have to be aggressive on him.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think the new line does have a better turn of foot. I think he has more potential acceleration than Final Demand. Going forward, I think Final Demand is a huge prospect. I'd be very keen on him for next season. I think he's a three
Yeah,
mile chaser,
exactly.
really.
I think
Um,
sorry, the way I kind of see it, like if I look at the horse and the turn, and I think, do you have a turn of foot to drop back into a supreme?
yeah,
Like you look at Ballyburn last season, always going to go back. Imperial Pass the year before, I think it was, you could have dropped him back as well. I don't see any of these, any of the Irish ones that could drop back to a supreme and have the blend of speed and stamina required. I just think, yeah, I think the new line, I'd struggle to see him not win now. Although, again, completely through tinted glasses.
yeah, yeah. We will give you that one. We'll give you that one. It's a great shout. Um, we'll move on to the Brown advisory. This is very straightforward in my opinion. I said it at the preview the other night that I think Ballyburn was 6-4, 13-8. I thought it was one of the better bets of the week, really, to be honest, at that point. He shortened in a little bit now with a couple of defections. There's a little bit of 5-4 around. I still think that's good value. I think this horse will go off odds on, and I think he'll win closely. Like, if there's decent ground, I think he's going to be far too quick for the likes of Dancing City. I'd probably be more afraid of something like Better Days Ahead, maybe on decent ground. But he's the class horse in this race, and I don't think they'll be able to really put enough pressure on him. Like, maybe the question mark is his jumping. I think it'll be fine at 3 miles. I think he's just not a quick jumper, but he'll pop away fine. And I think he is by far the biggest engine in this race, and I think he wins easy.
Yeah, I'm in entire agreement. I've been a Ballyburn fan for a long, long time now. The 3 miles is only going to bring out the best in him. I was actually, I actually had a daft half a point playing him for the Gold Cup just in case he entered him in the Gold Cup. Like I think he's that good. Like the form he's already shown over short trips for a horse of that pedigree and that staying prowess. Like he's only going to get better over this distance. Um, I mean, he's only got himself to beat. I'd struggle to see Dan City get to him again on decent ground, like you say. And yeah, it's Ballyburn. Ballyburn is a good bet for the day. I think even at this price now.
Yeah, 100% agree. John Bond, the horse that probably splits opinion more than most. He's going to be a very hot favourite for the champion chase. It's a little bit like the new lion for me in that I wanted to take him on, but they're just dropping like flies, and you're struggling to find a horse to take him on with. Um, I don't think I'm going to be a backer just for the simple reason that there is doubts for me around Cheltenham. This race is an absolute graveyard for favourites, but I'm not sure I'm going to be betting against him now either. The way the race has unfolded, decent ground. Few of the ones I did like kind of would have wanted it much softer than that, unless there's a deluge. Um, I may be sitting out this race. Don't really have a strong opinion on it. Um,
Yeah, it's John Bond's a Stephen Gerrard, isn't he? He's never won the Premier League. Um, he deserves that festival win. Um,
he
he just
does. He
looks
does deserve it. Yeah.
he's just looked so good this season as well. I think this is the best he's ever looked. He's finally
Yeah.
stopped being like he stopped that kind of exuberant, um, almost an infantile manner. He just looked more of a man this season. I know he's only beat by length, but that performance against Mean last time out was excellent. The Sandham forms are terrific, and I don't think it'll be a complete walk in the park. Marine National was closing on Solness last time. I don't think Solness will be able to reproduce his Leopardstown form at Cheltenham. I mean, this is a horse who painted 40 lengths in England annual last season. Like, how on earth can you improve that much all of a sudden? You see, it's a testament to what Joseph O'Brien is doing. But do I think he can reproduce at Cheltenham? I couldn't see that. The only other and the only bet I've actually had in this race is the exact same bet I had last season, which was Captain Guinness each way. And now look, the race completely fell apart, but it was second in the last two champion chases. He's got the form. Henry's horses are going to be absolutely year one for this. Like I don't think we've seen him at all this season. It was similar case last season, and if some of these falter again, which I think some of them will, he's 40, I think he's 33-1 still to a 20 for best price. 25s now. Still an okay each way bet to fill the frame when you consider the favourites going to be short as 5-6. Like how many winners of the champion chase? How many times you win the champion chase and go 25-1 the next year? It's madness. I think John Bond's only got himself to beat. If he does beat himself, I think there's every chance that Captain Guinness could follow him home again.
Yeah, yeah. I actually had a small few quid in him last year. Um, so I can see the angle on that. If I was pushed for one at a price, I'd probably side with Found a 50. Um, I actually think the angle to this horse, and the reason I'd be kind of drawn to him is he's a brilliant record fresh, unbelievable record fresh actually. He was beaten in the bumper, but he won his maiden hurdle after a 76-day break. He beat Colonel Mustard in a chase at Down Royal, first time out the following season. He won first time up this season, beating Pinkerton. He actually beat Solness as well, giving him weight earlier in the season. That form has really been frank. Now, he did disappoint behind Solness at Christmas, but I believe there was an excuse for that. And I know he didn't win last year's Arkle, but on good ground, he probably, if on a mythical good ground, he probably would have been last year's Arkle winner because I don't
Yeah,
think Gaelic Warrior would have beaten him on good
yeah.
ground.
Good ground is absolutely key
Um,
to him, isn't it?
and I do kind of like last year's Arkle form. I know people have been crabbing it, but like Matata has come out of it. But Gaelic Warrior just hasn't turned up at all this season, but he hasn't got his conditions either, really. Um, and Elliot Thomas had franked the form a couple of times at the end of last season, and then obviously missed this season. So JPR1 has come out of it. You know, there are snippets, and I think he was comfortably the best of those in last year's Arkle. So at 16 or 18-1, he would be a tentative each way play for me. But it is going to be hard to beat John Bon now. Well, actually, I'm a big fan of John Bon. I'd love to see him win the race. So I think it'd be good for racing because he probably, like you say, he does deserve it. So that's that. They're the short ones. Have you a strong opinion on the bumper?
You know what? Before about half an hour before we started recording, I didn't, and maybe a bit longer. And then I started going through some of the race IQ data that's just come out on the racing TV stuff. And now there's a horse in here that if he was trained by Willie Mullins and not ridden by David Maxwell, he'd be single figure prices in here. And it's El Kairos for going Josh Moore. Like this horse when he won at Newbury, David Maxwell almost fell off, and that's not been detrimental to David Maxwell's ability. It was actually come on leaps and bounds this season. He genuinely fell off. Like this horse has gone absolutely. He absolutely flew. So I was looking at it. He had what was it now? Where's he at? My notes are all jumbled. So he clocked the top speed of 37.84 miles per hour that day with 120.77 finishing speed percentage. For context, Copacabana, 35.39 miles per hour last time out, 117.94 finishing speed percentage. Game of Inches, 31.62 miles per hour. That was his top speed last time out, 108.69 finishing speed percentage. Calypso's Chance, another one that I do quite fancy. He was just slightly slower than El Kairos with 35.7 miles per hour and 109.43 finishing percent. Like so, you've got this El Kairos who is on all known form quicker than these at the top of the market. I know that obviously the ground was different and the way that the race pans out are different, and I'm not a huge time zone myself, as I do think that every race is different but like the visual suspicion backs up the data. Like it was absolutely rapid. Whether the form amounts to anything, well, we can only not too sure. But like if he was trained by Willie Mullins, not really by David Maxwell, this horse would be single figure prices without a doubt. It'll come from rear. He'll be keen. It'll come from rear. It'll suit him down to a T. If he does go, I think he's. I think it'll be the first David Maxwell horse I've ever put up at the Cheltenham Festival, but I think he's actually a fairly solid each way bet as well.
Jeez, that would be the story of all stories. David Maxwell to ride the winner of the bumper at the Cheltenham Festival. That would get some reception now on both sides of the fence. People probably roaring at him, positives and negatives. But yeah, good shout. I haven't really looked at the bumper even yet, to be honest. Don't have a strong opinion on it. Not a race I'm a big fan of at the festival, to be honest. I think there's other better betting opportunities. Your best bet on day two, Matty?
Yeah, undoubtedly. I think I'll be with Unexpected Party.
Yeah, we're actually in agreement again. I think that's my bet. Each way, I think it's absolutely rock solid. Um, Again, similar to the first day, Copic the board of the short ones was the one I liked on the first day. On day two, it will certainly be Ballyburn. I think got a few quid in him, not at the prices that I was mentioning a few weeks ago when he was 72 for the race, and I was humming and hawing and looking at the DRF and not knowing what to do. Um, Sitting on my hands is never a good idea this time of the year. You have to take action, I think. But yeah, I think he's still a bit at kind of 5 to 4 ish. But I expect him to win. So yeah, so that's days 1 and 2. Matty, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. We've had a good look through the handicaps, which I think I saw a couple of tweets today, people looking for more discussion on the handicap races. So I think it is worth delving into them rather than just running through the graded races, where most people kind of have their own opinions formed at this point on the graded races. So very enjoyable to give a deep look through plenty of the handicap or all of the handicaps there on days 1 and 2. We'll be back later on the week with days 3 and 4. But for now, thanks very much, Matty. You've been a pleasure as always, and we'll chat later in the week.
Yeah, thank you very much. Right, enjoy the weekend out.
Cheers, Matty.